Once upon a time, there was a young prince who lived in a beautiful castle. Although he had everything he wanted, he was arrogant and selfish. One cold night, an old woman asked for shelter in his castle in exchange for a rose. Disgusted by her appearance, the prince turned her away and sent her off. She warned him that true beauty lies within, but when he rejected her again, she transformed into a beautiful enchantress. It was too late for the prince to apologize, and as punishment, he was turned into a beast. A spell also fell over the castle and all its inhabitants. Ashamed of his appearance, the beast secluded himself in his castle, where only a magic mirror connected him to the outside world. The enchanted rose she had given him would last until his 21st birthday. If he could learn to love someone and earn their love in return before the last petal fell, the spell would be broken. If not, he would remain a beast forever. Let's begin to explore the beast's inner transformation. Initially, the prince is arrogant and only values external beauty. He rejects the old woman because of her appearance and is turned into a monster as punishment. This is ironic, as someone who was used to judging others by their looks is now forced to live with an appearance that disgusts him. In order to break the curse, he must be loved by someone who can see beyond his frightening exterior, which forces him to cultivate inner beauty and character. Before the curse, his looks were enough to get whatever he wanted. He never had to develop real virtues. But now he must learn to be kind, empathetic, and to control his temper. Essential qualities to be loved for who he is, not what he looks like. To change on the outside, he must first transform within and become someone who can be loved for his essence. In a nearby village, Belle walks to the market, singing about her desire to escape the town's monotony. Although the townspeople acknowledge her beauty, they see her as strange and different. At the bookshop, Belle returns a book and borrows her favorite again, since there are no new ones available. Elsewhere, Gaston, a hunter admired by everyone, shares with his friend Le Fou his plan to marry Belle because she's the most beautiful woman in town, and that makes her the best. Gaston admires himself in a mirror, then approaches Belle to try and get her attention. He takes her book and suggests she should focus more on him. He also tells her women shouldn't read because they might get ideas. Then he invites her to the tavern to show off the animals he's hunted, but Belle firmly rejects him. Suddenly, an explosion from Belle's home makes her run there, hoping her father is safe. Luckily, he is, though frustrated because his new invention isn't working. Belle encourages him, and with renewed spirit, Maurice gets it running. Excited, he heads to the fair with the invention, riding his horse, Philippe. But he gets lost in the woods and, confused by the signs, enters a dark forest. After being attacked by wolves, Philippe runs away, leaving Maurice scared and alone. Fortunately, Maurice finds shelter in a dark castle, where he's greeted by a talking candelabra named Lumiere and a grumpy clock named Cogsworth. Curiously, the beast's servants have literally been turned into objects, a reflection of how the beast once viewed people as mere things, their worth determined solely by their appearance. Lumiere brings Maurice to the study to warm up, while Cogsworth protests. As they walk through the halls, the beast appears, furious to find Maurice there. Believing he came out of curiosity, the beast imprisons him. The next day, Gaston shows up at Belle's house and insistently declares that today her dreams will come true as he plans to propose. Belle asks what he knows about her dreams. Gaston imagines a life together in a hunter's cabin with his latest kill on the fire and Belle rubbing his feet. Unimpressed, Belle skillfully avoids him and throws him out of her house. When he lunges at her, Gaston falls into a muddy pig pen. Enraged, he leaves, vowing that Belle will be his. Just then, Philippe arrives, and Belle realizes her father is in trouble. Take her to the beast's castle. Philippe leads her to its large gates. Although Belle is admired for her beauty, she's seen as odd in her town. To understand why, we must remember the story is set in the 18th century. At that time, women were expected to be modest, chaste, and focus solely on homemaking. Education was seen as useless for them. Gaston embodies this mindset when he says women shouldn't read. These norms also treated women as the property of men, living under their control with little say over their lives. Belle defies these expectations. As a modern heroine, she's brave and independent, rejects those who try to control her, and loves to read and think critically. This makes her different from traditional fairy tale heroines and out of place in a town that sees her beauty, but not her mind. They prefer someone like Gaston, handsome but shallow. Symbolically, Belle lives on the outskirts of town, emphasizing her difference from the rest. Lumiere and Cogsworth discreetly guide Belle to the cell where her father is held, trying to be gentler than they were with Maurice. Suddenly, the beast appears, acting harshly. Belle offers to take her father's place as prisoner. Lumiere advises the beast to be a little kinder to her, so he gives Belle a comfortable room instead of a cell. He tells her she may explore the castle as if it were her home, except the west wing, which is forbidden. Meanwhile, Gaston broods in the tavern, furious after Belle's rejection. He says he's been humiliated and won't stand for it. LeFou tries to cheer him up with a song about how everyone admires and wants to be like Gaston. Gaston is key to understanding the beast's transformation as he reflects what the prince was before the curse. He's shallow and values only physical beauty. He wants Belle solely because she's beautiful, not because he cares about who she is. If he found someone prettier, he'd pursue her instead. His vanity is also shown through his obsession with mirrors and songs about his looks. The villagers, just as shallow, admire him for his appearance. Gaston acts as a mirror of the beast's old self. Remember this, because it will be crucial in appreciating the beast's growth. Gaston also exemplifies narcissistic personality disorder, which includes an exaggerated need for admiration, lack of empathy, and an inflated sense of importance. People with this disorder often overestimate their worth, see themselves as exceptional, and demand constant attention, believing they deserve it. Gaston shows these traits consistently, boasting about his strength and charm, and how much the town adores him. But behind this confidence lies fragile self-esteem. As we see when Belle rejects him, he can't tolerate the public humiliation. This fragility is common in high narcissism, where rejection triggers defensive or even aggressive reactions. Just then, Maurice bursts into the tavern asking for help, claiming a beast has captured his daughter. The villagers don't believe him and throw him out into the snow. But Gaston sees an opportunity. He'll use Maurice's ramblings to pressure Belle into marrying him. Back at the castle, Belle is deeply sad. Luckily, she's surrounded by kind, animated furniture and dishes, like Mrs. Potts and her children, who do everything they can to make her feel welcome. The beast waits for Belle to join him for dinner. Showing little patience, Lumiere and Mrs. Potts try to advise him on how to win her affection. He must act like a gentleman, impress her with his intelligence and kindness, give her sincere compliments, and most importantly, control his temper. Suddenly, Cogsworth brings bad news. Belle doesn't want to leave her room. Frustrated, the beast makes the situation worse with another tantrum. Lumiere stays near Belle's door, while the beast retreats to his room to sulk. Another petal falls from the enchanted rose, deepening his despair. Late that night, Belle sneaks out of her room in search of food and finds Mrs. Potts, Lumiere, and Cogsworth in the kitchen. She asks for something to eat, and they take her to the dining room to serve her, with Cogsworth reluctantly agreeing. At the table, all the castle's utensils dance to the rhythm of a musical number sung by the candelabra and the teapot, serving Belle a late-night feast. After dinner, Cogsworth and Lumiere try to give Belle a tour of the castle, but they can't stop her from heading to the West Wing. Curious, Belle separates from them and explores the forbidden area, where she finds the beast's deteriorated room and sees the enchanted rose. The beast catches her there and, enraged, has a furious outburst. Scared, Belle flees the castle on Philippe, riding into the snowy forest. Suddenly, a pack of wolves attacks her. The beast intervenes bravely to save her, but is wounded and falls unconscious in the process. With great effort, Belle loads the injured beast onto Philippe and returns to the castle, where she tends to his wounds. Still acting immaturely, the beast reproaches Belle for running away. She replies that if he hadn't frightened her, she wouldn't have left, and she advises him to control his temper. The beast falls silent, and Belle thanks him for saving her life. Meanwhile, Gaston is in his cottage, bribing the local asylum director to lock up Maurice by claiming he's insane. His plan is to keep him confined until Belle agrees to marry him. Maurice heads out alone to look for Belle, while Gaston leaves LeFou to watch the house for their return. Back at the castle, the beast sees Belle happily playing with a footstool shaped like a dog. He realizes he's never felt this way about anyone before and decides to do something special for her. Cogsworth suggests flowers or chocolates, but Lumiere proposes something more personal, showing her the library. Following this advice, the beast brings Belle to his vast library. Over time, their friendship begins to blossom as they explore the castle and share moments together, all set to music. While teaching the beast to feed some birds, Belle sings about the hidden kindness she's discovered in him. One night, the beast nervously prepares for a romantic evening with Belle, hoping to confess his love. Belle appears in a stunning yellow gown, and the beast wears a blue suit. After dinner, they dance to a song that celebrates their growing bond. Later, they step out onto the balcony. The night is perfect, and the moment has come. The beast asks Belle if she is happy with him. She says yes, but she's worried about her father. The beast uses his magic mirror, and Belle sees Maurice sick and alone in the woods. Understanding what she must do, the beast sets her free so she can help her father. He gives her the magic mirror so she can remember him. Grateful, Belle leaves to rescue her father. This moment is highly symbolic. Belle, whose name means beauty, represents this concept. By choosing to release her, the beast is letting go of his attachment to outward beauty. Not only does he release the most beautiful person he's ever known, but he also gives up his only chance at becoming human and handsome again. This gesture marks a significant shift in the beast. He has begun to prioritize inner beauty and others' needs over his own superficial desires, an essential step toward true love. Belle finds her father, and they return home. At that moment, Le Fou, disguised as a snowman, runs off to alert Gaston. Belle tells her father that the beast let her go and has changed a lot. Suddenly, Chip the teacup appears, expressing his sadness that Belle left them. Soon, there's a knock at the door. It's the asylum director, sent by Gaston, who has summoned the villagers to support him. When Maurice tries to describe the beast, the villagers laugh and grab him. Gaston offers to release Maurice if Belle agrees to marry him. Disgusted, Belle rejects his offer. In an effort to prove her father isn't crazy, she uses the magic mirror to show the beast, looking heartbroken after she left. She explains that despite his frightening appearance, the beast is kind and gentle. He is her friend. And this is important. Belle was initially held against her will, but over time, under the influence of the castle's servants, the beast began to show his inner kindness. That led Belle to develop affection for him. Some believe this reflects Stockholm Syndrome, and I agree, though not according to the popular incorrect definition. Let me explain. Stockholm Syndrome is often misinterpreted as falling in love with your captor, but that's not accurate. Even if it were, it wouldn't apply to Beauty and the Beast. Belle doesn't fall in love with the Beast while imprisoned. Rather, she begins to see beyond his monstrous appearance, recognizes his kindness, and eventually introduces him to her village as her friend, showing compassion and acknowledging his humanity, not romantic love. And that is actually the true definition of Stockholm Syndrome. It's not a mental disorder, but a term to describe a psychological phenomenon that originated during a bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden. After several days with their captors, the hostages didn't fall in love with them, but they did develop sympathy, empathy, and compassion. When freed, they refused to testify against the robbers. In this sense, Belle's situation does reflect the original Stockholm Syndrome. She develops compassion and sees the beast's humanity, even after being held captive by him, without it being a romantic attachment. And when freed, not only does she refuse to speak out against him, she defends him. Gaston realizes that Belle has developed affection for the beast. When he sees the beast in the mirror, he and the villagers are horrified. Gaston quickly convinces them that the beast is dangerous and rallies them to storm the castle. He locks Belle and Maurice in the basement and marches toward the castle with the mob. They all make the same mistake the beast once did, judging someone solely by their appearance. When Gaston and the villagers see the beast in the mirror, they assume that something so ugly cannot possibly be good. At the castle, the mob uses a log to break through the gates. Inside, Lumiere gives the signal, and a huge battle erupts between the enchanted objects and the villagers. Meanwhile, Chip uses Maurice's invention to break open the basement door and free Belle and her father, who quickly head to the castle to help. The villagers are driven out of the castle, but Gaston reaches the beast, who is too heartbroken to fight back. Gaston threatens him with a bow, and after shooting him, pushes the wounded beast toward the edge of a cliff. But when the beast sees Belle, he regains his strength, grabs Gaston, and holds him over the ledge. Gaston begs for his life, and the beast spares him, telling him to leave. Belle calls out to the beast from a balcony. The beast quickly climbs up to meet her, and they take each other's hands. But in that moment, Gaston stabs the beast. After a final move from the beast, Gaston loses his balance and falls into the abyss. Belle helps the beast back to the balcony, where they share their last moments together before he dies from his wounds. In tears, Belle begs him not to leave her and confesses her love for him, just as the last petal of the enchanted rose falls. Miraculously, the beast comes back to life and transforms into his human form. As I mentioned earlier, Gaston represents the vanity and superficiality of the prince that the beast used to be before the curse. By defeating Gaston, it's as if the beast also overcomes his former self, the part of him that was obsessed with outer beauty. In this moment, the beast reveals his inner beauty by letting Belle go, by sacrificing himself for her, and even by showing self-control when he chooses not to let Gaston fall to his death. And that is what finally leads Belle to fall in love with him romantically and declare her love. This triggers the beast's physical transformation, an outward sign of the deep internal change he has undergone, completing his metamorphosis. Belle and the beast kiss, and the curse is lifted. All the castle's inhabitants return to their human forms. Belle and the beast dance joyfully while everyone around them celebrates. To me, one of the central themes of this movie is the difference between love and possession, two things that are often confused. Gaston sees Belle as a trophy, like one of the animals he hunts. He doesn't care about her wishes or dreams. He only wants to impose his own, like when he fantasizes about Belle massaging his feet after they're married. His goal is to possess and control her, which is far from true love. At first, the beast also sought to possess Belle, wanting to keep her in his castle for himself without considering her wishes. That wasn't love, it was control. And as long as Belle was a prisoner, she couldn't possibly fall in love with him. But everything changes when the beast begins to show his inner beauty and places Belle's happiness above his own desires. Almost as if inspired by Sartre, he learns that true love means wanting the other person to be free, because to control Belle would be to turn her into an object, and you can't receive love from an object. Real love appears when both people care about each other's dreams, desires, and needs, and are willing to make sacrifices for one another. That's how true love is achieved.